He had also told me that he had gotten 100 hours of graduate hours, but there were no transcripts to show that. And he was working on his PhD. So I asked, well, there must have been a background investigation that would certainly look at that discrepancy. There was none that addressed that discrepancy. And so I called Mountain State University and found out they were defunct. They were an online university. And in 2013, they became unaccredited and they're no longer in existence. And the University of Charleston? Yeah, University of Charleston now holds their records. No, that's great. I'm mastering semesters online. I don't have a problem with that. But you've got to account for those differentials in your background investigation. And where's the other 100 hours? Okay? So when I'm asking Lieutenant Evans about this, I'm saying, what's going on? Well, he says, well, I don't want to be chief. I talked to the chief when that happened. I think he didn't have a problem with it. He thought Perry was doing a good job. And I'm going to tell you right now, Perry was trying to do a good job. Okay, he was. He's trying to do a good job there. He's a little deficient in a couple areas, but he's trying. He certainly is writing all the memos in your police department. Okay? So I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to him, and he said, well, he wanted to work drugs, so he went to HIDTA, which is the High Intensity Drug Task Force Area, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force in San Antonio. So I said, well, okay, cool, great. And I said, well, how many cases were presented? And he kind of stumbled with that. And then I asked the district attorney, the criminal district attorney, how many cases you got from that HIDTA? None. So what the hell? I mean, I'm not the investigator. I can't go up to DEA and say, hey, where was Lieutenant Evans every day for the last 6 months? Did he report to duty? Where did he report to duty? He may well be doing all of those things. It was a long-term investigation. I work with DEA and have worked with DEA for many, many years. My first job was with the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs in Detroit, Michigan. Okay? So you can't just call up and say, hey, I need to check about an officer doing undercover work. So it may all be legitimate, but that needs to be investigated by your city. That's a big red herring. When you got someone reporting to off of your campus somewhere else, no cases are coming in, someone's got to ask questions, what the hell is going on? And what did we get? What did you get for paying a lieutenant's salary for 6 months at that hideout? You paid his salary. Command and management leadership. The department's in serious trouble. You got a clear lack of leadership, because of internal turmoil. Sporadic continual review is part of modern day policing. I can't overemphasize that. I would tell you, someone said, well, you're spending big bucks on me. Let me tell you, you're not. You're spending $36,000 on me. $6,000 of that dollars is going for travel for me to come down here. Hotels, that kind of thing. So about $30,000. I told your mayor, if you want to go to an external agency, like PERF in Washington, D.C., Police Foundation, a couple of private entities in here, you're looking at double, maybe triple that. Double for sure. Okay? I would tell you, spend it. Because you need to have someone with fresh eyes looking at your department. You think Ford and Chevy and Apple computers get to the quality that they get to because they don't have external review? They have external review all the time. You think Dallas Police and San Antonio Police Department don't have external review? El Paso Police Department doesn't have external review. I just got the MGT study, which is another study from a group out of Boston that looked at El Paso. That's what we do in policing. We constantly look and say, how can we do things better? There is no direction, no mission, no strategy, no philosophy at all within your police department. You go to any police department across this country, small, large, medium size, you walk in, and I promise you, in 90% of them, you'll see the mission of our department is to serve the community of Floresville. It'll say the values of our police department are blah, 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 blah. It'll say the strategies that we're trying to do are this. And it's going to look professional. And you're going to be treated professionally. You demand that, and you'll get it. I promise you. And you should, because you're a city. You're the community that needs to be protected. And you need and deserve better. Okay? There's none of that down there. Okay? And the department represents kind of, I heard it once, I heard it 50 times, you know, from officers. They would say, that's kind of the good old boy thing. They even have a thing saying, hey, there's the triplets, that they say are 3 guys down there, and they can't do anything wrong. Okay? And they get favored treatment over others. I don't know whether that's true or not. All I can tell you is that there's a certain perception down there between those 2 factions that there's favoritism. Okay. And then when you have someone who's a 14-year veteran, who's the only female in your department, fired, and then hired back, you got to be scratching your head. What's going on? So, one of my recommendations is you remove the entire command and leadership team. That means the chief, the assistant chief, and the lieutenant. The lieutenant should only be removed until the investigation shows one way or the other with the HIDA. He may be just fine. You work up there to HIDA, everything is accounted for, bring him back, you know, no problem. Choose an interim chief from one of your 4 existing sergeants. Make sure they understand it's interim, and go get yourself a chief from outside this department, and someone that's going to come in here and make it a hell of a lot better. And that will save those officers that want to leave. Let me tell you that. You've got a good department. Save what's good there. So you got some tough decisions ahead. I want to make sure you understand that I'm not an investigator. I'm not an auditor. I recommend T-Cold come in here. I recommend that the DPS be contacted if there's any hint of criminal violation on any investigation that might come up out of my review. I would review, you know, my review was kind of hampered because I never got anything. I never got really any cooperation from anybody after Assistant Chief Hayden left. By the way, I forgot to finish that story. Assistant Chief Hayden, after 4 months, you know, gets promoted to assistant chief, and then I think about 2 months before his probation period, which was last April, he had to have open heart surgery. And so now he's not on the duty. He's not on job. He's been with your department for less than a year. I think it was, 10 months. And then he had to go out for open heart surgery. I hope he's doing well. I really do. But you're paying for that. Okay, you're paying for that. And someone else just mentioned, assistant chief is not a collective bargaining position. Now, I applaud the issue of making an assistant chief. I would say get rid of your lieutenant, not the person, the rank of lieutenant. Keep the assistant chief rank so that you can have an appointed person there from within. Okay? From within. But not someone with 4 months on. Okay? Come on. So after Chief Hyden left, I received nothing by way of email, nothing. So, you know, I would say there's some things that should be investigated, and I would call for those in my report to look at those. So, you know, whatever. Protect and keep those young and good officers and the sergeants. They're all good. I mean, really, quite frankly, I'm pretty impressed with the folks there. And I think it's salvageable. I think you can, I'll tell you what. Those guys that are sitting up there against that wall, they're standing against that wall, this is embarrassing. And I'm going to tell you what, I think these guys are trying really hard. And it's embarrassing to them, and I think what they want to do is they want to have one complete, positive, professional law enforcement agency called the Floresville Police Department. Your chief, he has served here for a long period of time and has done a good job up to a certain point. And so I'm not trying to be dismissive of his service to this community. I mean, he's been here 20 some years, right? I mean, something like that. So, you know, treat him appropriately. Thank you.
I have some questions. Hold on. I have questions. I'll give you a few minutes to get the chairs back in order.
Okay, I again ask for respect from our presenter. If there are any questions, I know Councilwoman Cantu had a question for Mr. Taylor.
I have several questions. When you said you found, because you gave us the book, and there's no way I can read this book in a matter of...
What you see is what you're gonna read.
Yeah, but, yeah, okay. And then you said you had information from the DA and the CA, right?
From the DA, from the, yes.
District Attorney.
From the district attorney and the county attorney.
Is it in writing, what they said?
No, I don't get any, I didn't get any writing. Why would you get, you can't do a study like this and go up to people and say, hey, listen, I want to do a review of your police department, I want to do a review of law enforcement in your community. Can you give me a written statement? Are you kidding me? No
Okay,
way.
so that is just hearsay.
No, it's not hearsay, it's statements that were given by them.
No, but to me it's hearsay, 'cause she told you, I'm sorry, that's where I look at it, okay? And then,
By the way, I've only done like, what, 50 of these? I've never, ever asked anybody to write anything to do with
okay,
it.
well, that's my opinion, you know, I would like to see it in writing. And that's why I'm asking, is it in writing in here? Because it's too much, I couldn't read it. So, when were you first contacted?
When?
Oh, the first time you were contacted?
That's not part of our discussion.
I don't.
Yes, it is. Yes,
I would say it was probably,
November 1st, maybe?
does anybody have my proposal?
It was in
I
February.
don't
This is
know
just
when
a
I was
report.
contacted. It would have been somewhere in there
it is.
maybe.
Okay, you don't know, could you
I
get me?
have that when I was.
Can you get me that information, please?
Pardon me?
Can you get that information for me? Okay, and who contacted you? Who was the first?
I did.
Okay, the mayor? Okay, and who provided direction to you?
What do you mean direction?
Who told you what we were looking for?
Nobody. They asked me, would you do a review of the Floresville Police Department? And just like I've been asked to do the review of the Allen Police Department, the Soto Police Department, the Dallas Police Department, the El Paso Police Department, they don't give you direction. I would not do that job.
Let me ask you this. When you were hired, in any way, were you giving the impression directly or indirectly that the committee and the council wanted you to find something wrong with the chief and certain other individuals?
Ms. Cantu,
Uh-huh.
let me explain something. I have a little bit of personal integrity. I've done this my whole life. If someone was to tell me, I want you to come in here and do a report that says, go get the chief, I would not do it. Okay? That's not the way I work. It's not the way that the agencies that I work for work, and we don't do that. Now, I will tell you that the minute I walked into the chief's office, or into the police department, the chief and the assistant chief thought that's exactly what I was saying.
Okay, so if the
And I
situation,
explained to them I was not.
so if the situation would arise, you're willing to testify in a court of law that nobody gave you direction?
That nobody gave me, no, yes, nobody gave me.
Okay. Okay. In any way, were you given the impression directly or indirectly that the committee and council wanted to terminate the chief or any other individual?
Did what?
In any way, were you giving the impression directly or indirectly that the committee or the council wanted to terminate the chief?
Not until after I talked to Mr. Hugg and explained to him what I was finding, and I actually said you should terminate the assistant chief before his probation is over.
You recommended it.
I did.
Okay. Did you get the impression from the committee or the council that they had somebody else that could do a better job?
What?
Did you get the impression from the committee or the council that they had somebody else that could do a better job as chief?
No, they asked me who does these kinds, oh, as chief? No,
As chief.
not
Okay, I'm almost through. I'm almost through.
Before you ask
Okay.
another question, I've got a question. You're saying that you asked Mr. Hugg?
Pardon me?
We've got two people that are part of the committee, which you're supposed to be asking the questions to, but you're talking to our city attorney?
No, I
and
talked to
advice?
him about probationary officers. Okay, I wanted to get a little more direction
No,
myself.
you stated that you wanted to get rid of one of the assistant chiefs.
I recommended to your city attorney.
I know, but why are you speaking
Let
to
me,
him?
I will be more than happy to explain that
Okay.
if you let me. I talked to your.
Hold on, before you go any further, the reason I'm saying this is because we've been out in the cold, not being able to say anything. I went to one of your meetings, town hall meetings, which you told me that I was not invited. And I have to explain to you, hey, well, you know what, I'm a business owner, and I'm one of the leaders here of this community, sir, and I didn't know what's going on here.
You missed one important point that
Go
I
ahead.
want to tell your audience, is that when you came, that made it a quorum for your city council.
No, I understand
And we
that.
couldn't have that meeting.
But,
And that's why I
no,
didn't want you there.
but you being a doctor or whatever you are, and having the professionalism, I think it should have been something that you should have asked our mayor or our city manager, this is what I'm gonna have here, and make sure that we do not have a quorum. And can you tell Mr. Jimenez that he's not invited, or Ms. Cantu, or whoever was not invited, let us know, so that way we don't have to hear by second,
Were you invited?
no, it was not,
Then why did you show up?
because I heard about it.
But it wasn't a forum for you to be at. It was
No, but how am I supposed to know, sir?
Because you weren't invited. You weren't invited to. You should have been there. You're
not invited, you don't
connection to the quality interaction with police. But I will answer your first question, which very quickly and very straightforward. I don't want to be antagonistic to you.
Yep.
The
Well,
issue is.
you've been pretty antagonistic the whole night.
No.
Yes, you've been one-sided, for being a consultant, you've been one-sided the whole
Maybe the first time in my life I've ever been told I was antagonistic to the police.
Well, one of the things is, I'm a citizen of the city of Floresville, lived here my entire life. And I know a lot of these citizens here, okay? Now, one thing that you say positive about a police department.
I think I said a number.
No, first you knocked them down, slammed them down, and said everything bad about it, and then you said something. Well, maybe this is what we need to do. You know, it doesn't sound good.
It is what it is.
No, it's not what it is. I'm going to tell you, as a citizen,
I'm not going to get in an argument
it's
with
not
you.
what
If you
it
got
is.
a question, I'll answer.
Okay, go ahead.
If you don't like the report, fine. You hired me to give me
Well,
your.
we wanted a consultant.
You asked me as a council, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't talk about it, I don't know. I don't.
Well, the
have
reason
to.
I
Do you
don't
want to
know
hear my
because
side or not, sir?
this is the first time I'm listening
Councilman,
for anything.
Real simply, you asked me for my professional opinion of your police department, and I'm giving it to you. If you don't like it, don't do anything with it, okay? It's real simple as that. Would you like me to talk about why I talked to Mr. Hug?
Sure.
I talked to Mr. Hug because I found out that your assistant chief was hired 4 months and then promoted to assistant chief, okay? Had been on the department for 4 months. That he had rewritten the collective bargaining agreement. I wanted that confirmed. And I asked him, I called him, I said, is that true? And he said, yeah, it is. In fact, he told me I can absolutely confirm that. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second reason I did is I said, look, he's going to be going in for open heart surgery. Okay, he's got less than a year on. Do you as a city want to pay for that? And you know, if you don't, you have the option to terminate that person for no reason. He's in probation. The rank of assistant chief never existed until Perry Hayden came here.
Not true.
Well, that was what I was told.
Okay.
So everything's hearsay with you.
In your inspection, did you find that there was sufficient training for the chief of police in the areas that the council indicated that he wasn't doing a good job? In other words, did you correct, are you gonna, well, the question is here, in your inspection, did you find that there was sufficient training? Did they train him enough?
No, ma'am, when T-Cole comes here, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, they're gonna come in here and they're gonna look at your records. And they're gonna find that they're highly deficient. And I don't know whether your chief has gone to the required chief schools, because I couldn't find the evidence to support that. The documentation for your training is abysmal,
Okay.
okay? And that's gonna cost you money, large money, because they're gonna suspend your department. talk to San Antonio, but they just got that. Your officers are supposed to get psychological exams before they get hired, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think so. And I saw no documentation of that.
Did you find in his official ratings that he was deficient in any areas? When you did the history, did you find in his official ratings?
There are no official ratings. That's what I point out. There's no performance evaluations in those files. They're haphazard. I didn't look at every file. I took about 10 of them and looked at them. Okay? There's no performance evaluations in some of them. So it's hard to evaluate.
Henrietta didn't give him an evaluation.
What?
Ms. Turner, the city manager, didn't give him an evaluation.
Who, you mean the chief?
Uh-huh.
I didn't look at this. I didn't go in and look at his file for evaluation.
Okay, so now you wanna, your recommendation is to terminate him,
No,
yet you...
no, I didn't. Wait a minute.
Right
I
here,
didn't say terminate. That's it.
it says immediate choose an internship.
Terminate. I
from
just
the-
observe the facts, all right? All I do is give you what I found out. You make those decisions.
Dr. Taylor,
You know what, I'm having a hard time because...
Councilwoman, can I have one second? Dr. Taylor, can I get you to stand over here so you can speak into the mic so we can get it all?
Okay, I'm having a hard time because other employees have received poor evaluations and they have not been subject to such intensive investigations.
I don't do investigations.
I believe members of the council are targeting certain individuals. And this is not right.
Ma'am, the only thing I can tell you is I don't do investigations. Number two, I've done a bunch of these. Unfortunately, this one requires some significant change at the top. I don't terminate people. I just tell you what I found. If you want to call what I do hearsay, then that's your prerogative to do it. But I'm simply telling you, you hired me to come in and look at your police department and refer it and reference it to best practices across this country, and I'm telling you that it's substandard on a number of levels, and that many of those levels are based on leadership, the lack thereof.
Okay, here in the city of Floresville, how many hours did you spend investigating the police department?
How many hours?
Did you spend on the ground?
I have no idea.
More or less?
I think this is my 6th trip.
And so you don't know how many, 10, 15 hours? You don't know?
No, ma'am. I'm talking days. I was here for probably I'm gonna say somewhere in the area of 8 to 10 days, talking to your folks around here.
But how many hours? You don't
I have
know?
no idea. I don't count my hours.
So how many hours total did
I
you
don't
spend
know.
in this case? You don't know? Okay, and what is your total bill?
$36,000.
36 or is it 37,500?
It may be 37,500.
And who's gonna pay for that, Chris?
The reason why I don't understand that, or don't know it, is because I work for the Professional Development Institute at the University of North Texas, and you contracted with them, it's not with me.
I'd like
Okay,
to,
where's that money coming from, Chris? Do you know?
I couldn't answer that as legal. You'd have to go to finance or something.
Ms. Turner, do you know?
We'll be submitting a budget amendment as we are getting ready to prepare for our budget, and we will have to actually find the funds. One of the easiest ways we can do is actually take some money from the reserves and
From the
check out
reserves?
from your reserves and check out other
From the
funds.
citizens,
From your account balance reserves.
account balance.
Council, if we're going to start talking finance, I recommend we have an agenda item put on there to talk specifically about that.
I would like to clear something up, is that if we can go back in the minutes, and Monica, you can help me on this. We started when the newer members of the council got on, wanted to get acquainted with our departments and where we were, what we were doing. We got informed about what was going on in the police department. We had in a couple of executive sessions to go over the EEOC complaints. Therefore, it came up and it was sometime in February that the committee was formed. The committee found the information and I was the one who contacted Mr. Taylor. That's how it went. It wasn't right after we got sworn in by mandamus.
The committee was already
Second week
formed.
of March.
The committee was already formed when we went back there. So,
No,
No, it wasn't.
yes, it
No.
was. And you already had the three people.
Councilman Jimenez and Councilwoman Cantu don't, if you go back, we decided this in executive session. You may not admit to remembering it, but
I
that's what-
remember it very clearly.
And we formed the committee of myself.
The committee was
and
already
Lisa.
formed.
And we can get the minutes for those, if people want to look at it, but that's kind of off on the actual presentation of the report.
The first sentence of the report tells how I was funded.
Any other comments from the council to Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, you said you had to use an attorney and then you have a partner in it to also review everything?
Oh, yes.
So we're gonna get a second opinion?
That's up to you.
I think the,
Did you hear how we contacted them? Texas Institute of...
No, it's the Professional Development Institute, my partner, and he read it.
So you're the one that recommended to the other firm that we hired? No?
It's the firm we went to that brought them here.
What's the purpose of the partner, do you think?
Will you explain who you basically work for?
Yeah, I work for the Professional Development Institute, which is an institute on the campus of the University of North Texas. Okay? And so my partner that I've done these studies with over the past 30 years is Eric Rich. And so he read it and reviewed it, and then also members of the PDI, and directors and attorney.
Dr. Taylor, I appreciate you coming out tonight. And these are serious recommendations that you're making, you know that, and I'm sure you've made similar in the past. Do you follow up with the police departments that you researched?
Sometimes, yeah, very much so.
Do you know how many of them, I guess, enact the change that you recommend?
Oh, well, that's the primary reason why we do the study.
So you would say most of them?
In that change. I mean, if you look at the report, it's built in a way so that you can start with the last recommendation and move backwards as a plan of action. Okay? But, I mean, anybody who's a student of organizations understands, you know, you've got to deal with issues at the top. You've got to deal with communications, both internally and externally, to the police department. And, you know, I'm not saying people are bad. What I'm saying is that your department could be better, and that you have to make some hard choices, what you want to do and how you want to do it. If I'm making recommendations, you need to take those top 3 positions and change them.
And you also mentioned a lot about Dallas and Dallas. We're not Dallas, we're Floresville. This is a small town. I don't live in a big town. I don't live in Oregon, we live in Floresville, Texas.
I agree, and I think the citizens deserve the very best.
And they get the very best, as far as I'm concerned. So this,
Mr. Zek, is it possible for this council to go into executive session for a few minutes?
it's not on the
I'm gonna defer to your city attorney.
So if you would like to go into executive session, there is the reserved right to go into it, but there needs to be a foundation to do so. One of the exceptions under there. One of those is consultation with an attorney, but it has to be something that invokes the professional ethics of the attorney or would breach the attorney-client privilege if discussed in open session. So if you feel that it's there, you can motion to enter into it, discuss, and then your counsel can go through and whether it's worth or legal to remain there. That would be a discussion.
Even if it's not on the agenda?
Yeah, down at the bottom, it's underneath adjourn, you'll see on every agenda, we have the City Council of the City of Floresville reserves the right to convene in closed session in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Government Code of Texas on any of the above items.
No other questions or comments for Mr. Taylor by the council members? It is now 9:35 and this meeting is adjourned.